survivors are found. Welcome to #PHVote 2013 Rappler. Today on Rappler, a Makati court junks Janet de Napoles' bail petition.
Lahat ng nakarehistrong miyembro ng Pantawid Pamilya, makukuha nila yung kaukulang cash grant na hindi natitingnan kung pumasok ba yung anak nila at nagpunta sa health center.
The government may give money to Typhoon Haiyan survivors who are part of its cash transfer program without conditions. And Senate Minority Leader Enrile blasts a report tagging him as a pork barrel scam mastermind. Hello, I'm Ai Makaraig, sitting in for Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. It's now day 13 since Typhoon Yolanda, international name Haiyan, hit the Philippines. The official death toll from the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council is unchanged. At least 4,011 people are confirmed dead, while at least 1,602 are missing. Hard-hit areas like Tacloban City are beginning the process of rebuilding. Paterno Esmaquel is on the line for updates in Tacloban. Paterno?
The government says it is exploring means to help typhoon victims rebuild their lives. One of these is to implement an unconditional cash transfer program. In a media briefing this morning, Social Welfare Secretary Dindin Reyes says this is based on the current conditional cash transfer or CCT program. Under the CCTI, the government gives cash grants to the poor as long as they fulfill certain conditions. Soliman says the government will waive these conditions for Yolanda survivors. Let's listen to Secretary Soliman.
Lahat ng nakarehistrong miyembro ng Pantawid Pamilya, makukuha nila yung kaukulang cash grant na hindi natitingnan kung pumasok ba yung anak nila at nagpunta sa health center. So that's one step that will cover all Pantawid Pamilya beneficiaries dito sa Eastern Samar Lake. Sa lahat yan, all the affected areas, ganun ang gagawin namin for Yolanda.
The government also says it will lead a massive reconstruction that is likely to cost billions.
Now, Paterno, how do the survivors view the announcement? Was there an amount mentioned, and is the cash grant sufficient for the victims?
Many residents in typhoon-stricken areas have yet to hear about this plan by the government. As for the cash grant, residents will get up to 1,400 pesos a month for health and education. It will be a challenge for families to budget this amount, especially because many of them will be starting from scratch.
But in the long term, do the government and the aid groups have plans for livelihood so the victims will eventually stand on their own?
Here in Tacloban, the city government says it will implement a cash program for typhoon survivors. And in G1 Eastern Samar earlier this week, President Aquino also suggested turning fallen coconut trees into coco lumber, and that too will require labor. Other towns and cities will conduct similar programs.
Okay, thank you very much, Paterno Esmaquel, reporting from Tacloban. In many parts of Visayas, much of the damage from the super typhoon came from the storm surges, some reaching up to 6 meters. This video from children's organization Plan International shows how deadly and powerful these storm surges are. This was taken 6 a.m. on November 8 in Hernani, Eastern Samar, on the day the super typhoon hit land. Water from the ocean rushed over land, accompanied by strong winds. The video shows how quickly the water rose. Within seconds, another wave, much more powerful this time, slams into this house, completely engulfing it and leaving it in pieces. Nixon Gensis, the staff member who filmed this video, describes the massive storm surge as a huge tsunami. Let's watch that video again. Power has not been restored in Tacloban City, but a resourceful resident finds a way. Bea Cupin reports.
With a turn, a twist, and a crank comes precious electricity. It's a nifty invention by Michael De Harlo, an electrician in Tacloban. In the aftermath of Yolanda, power is a scarce commodity in the city. Michael's invention can charge flashlights and even cell phones.
Bali, nakagawa kami yung mga ceiling fan namin na nasira ng bagyo, nagawa namin para makumpuni. Makakuha kami ng kuryente, magamit para mag-charge ng yung flashlight.
Small ceiling fans connected to a socket can generate around 47 volts. Two fan motors powered by a discarded bike can generate up to 300 volts.
Masyado pong mahirap dahil sa syudad kami naninirahan. Sanay kami yung may may TV, at saka yung may computer. Siyempre, hindi rin mainit. Ngayon, talagang parang yung buhay namin, parang naglaho talaga. Parang nawawalan ba ng pag-asa.
Right now, locals who need to charge their gadgets plug in charging stations scattered across the city.
Hindi ko alam kung may nakagawa na nito, pero yung sa akin lang makatulong. Kung yung hindi pa alam, pwede kopyahin lang para makatulong ba sa tao.
Energy Secretary and former Leyte Governor Jericho Petilla says he will resign if power isn't restored by December. Without power in the city, Yolanda survivors face an uphill climb before life goes back to the way it was. But survivors like Michael rely on their ingenuity. They improvise and find ways to make life a little easier here.
Medyo nabuhayan kami ng loob, medyo masaya ba para yung isip ko makuha na ito, may pakinabang na ba, pwede makatulong sa bayan kahit paano, makatulong doon sa yung naghihirap na kubuha na maka-charge ba, kasi ngayon mahirap talaga.
Grocery stores are back in business. Roads are slowly being cleared of debris. And with people like Michael and their inventions, the road to normalcy may just be around the corner. Bea Cupin, Rappler, Tacloban City.
The Philippines accepts China's offer to send its hospital ship to help in relief and medical operations in areas affected by the super typhoon. The Peace Ark is a 10,000-ton hospital ship with 2,406 units of advanced medical systems, including a CT scan room, digital X-ray room, blood bank, oxygen generation station, and its own pharmacy. It has 300 ward beds, 20 of which are from the intensive care unit. The offer comes with an increased aid package for the Philippines following criticism about China's initial donation of $100,000, which some called inadequate and small change for China. Speculation in international media has it that the quote measly donation was due to the tension between the two countries over territories in the South China Sea or West Philippine Sea. The Department of Energy or DOE appeals to consumers in Luzon to save energy starting December 9 because this will help power up typhoon-stricken areas in the Visayas. Energy Secretary Jericho Petilla says Typhoon Yolanda damaged transmission lines and the 650-megawatt unified Leyte geothermal power plant, which supplies power to distribution utilities in the island. The National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP, earlier said it will take 5 to 6 weeks to restore power in badly affected areas. Petilla, though, promised to resign if he fails to restore power by Christmas Eve. Petilla says a portion of the transmission line connecting Luzon and the Visayas is expected to be restored by December 9. He says if Luzon power consumers start conserving energy, this will create excess power that can be supplied to the Visayas. The typhoon's damage to transmission lines and facilities is pegged at 2 billion pesos. Although NGCP likely has 70% of the damage covered by insurance, Petilla says the remaining 30% may be passed on to consumers. To prevent this, the DOE is looking into tapping the Malampaya Fund to finance the restoration of power facilities. But after a Supreme Court ruling allowing the use of the fund only for energy activities, Petilla says transmission and distribution lines may not be considered energy resources. The chief legal advisor and lawyer lawyers from the DOE and the National Electrification Administration are set to discuss whether the Malampaya Fund can be used. Climate Change Commission Vice Chair Lucille Sering took to task advanced countries that are reneging on their commitment to lessen carbon emissions at the UN Climate Change Conference in Warsaw, Poland. In her ministerial speech, Sering says negotiators should be ashamed of talking for the last 19 years without concrete action on avoiding global warming. Since the brunt of severe weather phenomena is borne by third world countries without adaptation support from industrialized ones, Sering says, I am beginning to feel that we are negotiating on who is to live and who is to die. She points to Super Typhoon Yolanda as a reminder of global warming's disastrous effects on countries less able to adapt to extreme weather changes. Sering also argues for the creation of a loss and damage mechanism, which would help developing countries get funds to better prepare for disasters brought about by climate change. But on Thursday, 6 environmental groups walked out of UN climate negotiations, saying the talks are, quote, on track to deliver virtually nothing. This comes after developing countries, including the Philippines, also walked out of a closed nighttime session on loss and damage. The bloc was frustrated over the refusal of developed countries to provide funds, technology, and capacity building to poor countries suffering from climate change. But the Philippines' Nader Sanyo denies the walkout happened. The Makati Regional Trial Court on Thursday junks the petition for bail filed by Janet Lim Napoles in connection with an illegal detention case. In its ruling, the court says the evidence against Napoles is strong. She and her brother Reynald Lim are accused of illegally detaining her cousin and former employee Ben Horluy between December 2012 and March 2013, so he will not reveal details of the alleged multi-billion peso pork barrel scam. Napoles is the alleged mastermind of the scam, where lawmakers channeled funds to fake NGOs in exchange for kickbacks. On the last day of Napoles' bail hearing, Luy revealed details about his detention. Luy says he received threats to his life and was told to lie about his whereabouts. Napoles is detained at Fort Santo Domingo in Santa Rosa, Laguna. Senate Minority Leader Juan Ponce Enrile blasts a newspaper report tagging him, not Napoles, as the mastermind of the pork barrel scam. In a statement Thursday, Enrile calls the Enquirer report the latest in a series of outrageous reports, quote, clearly intended to malign and defame him. The report said an investigative team of the Office of the Ombudsman supposedly named him as the scam mastermind. The Enquirer says it obtained an 8-page memorandum that said, quote, all facts point to Senator Enrile as the unseen hand directing the compass and the tempo of the whole orchestra. But on Thursday, Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales says there is no such memo. Enrile's lawyers will ask the newspaper to apologize and correct the report. Enrile faces a plunder complaint over the scam, along with Senator Bong Revilla, Senator Jinggoy Estrada, Napoles, and 34 others. The Ombudsman orders the accused to respond to the charges. The Council for the Petitioners Against the Pork Barrel Funds welcomes the Supreme Court decision, saying it is important to prevent accumulation of power. On Tuesday, the Supreme Court declared the Priority Development Assistance Fund, or PDAF, unconstitutional. This comes after petitioners questioned its constitutionality in the wake of the pork barrel scam. In oral arguments before the court, lawyer John Molo said the pork barrel violates the separation of powers between the executive and legislative branches of government by allowing lawmakers to endorse PDAF recipients after the budget is passed.
It's a key principle of separation of powers, but like what I said during my opening statement, separation of powers is not kept simply because we want it. Because we keep separation because we fear accumulation of power. Accumulation of power means that the entire power of government is held only by one man, one committee, one cabal. That's why we keep it separate. And when the accumulation you fear involves money, then that is a very, very difficult situation that we have to extricate ourselves in.
Mola says there are fears the Supreme Court decision makes the president more powerful. but he says the solution is to make Congress independent.
The best way to check a powerful president is not to give congressmen and senators money directly. The best way to keep a president honest and use Congress to check them is to make Congress independent. You don't give them money to spend on their...
The Philippines is now one of 21 countries with the power to confirm the coveted UNESCO World Heritage Site title to deserving locations. With 116 votes, the Philippines wins a seat in the UNESCO World Heritage Committee during elections held in Paris, France on Tuesday. The Philippines will serve a 4-year term from 2013 to 2017. The World Heritage Committee is tasked with implementing the World Heritage Convention, which promotes and protects heritage sites all over the world. The committee also decides how to allocate the annual $4 million World Heritage Fund meant for the promotion and preservation of World Heritage sites. The Philippines is home to 5 World Heritage sites. Let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 6, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry says he's nailed down the terms of a key security pact to govern the presence of U.S. troops in Afghanistan beyond 2014. The hard-won agreement is announced just hours before Afghan leaders debate the deal. Afghanistan's President Hamid Karzai appears to bow to a U.S. demand, stopping American troops from being tried in local courts if they are accused of any crime. At number 7, a year after rejecting the introduction of female bishops into its hierarchy, the Church of England reverses itself Wednesday. Mounting public pressure prompts the General Synod to vote 378 to 8 in favor of the proposal. Traditionalist parishes are reportedly satisfied with backroom talks on how they can opt out of a woman bishop's diocese. An ombudsman will be created to rule on such disputes. A formal vote on the measure will be done next year. At number 9, researchers say cardiovascular endurance among children declined significantly since 1975. The lead author of the study conducted at the University of South Australia says if young persons are generally unfit now, then they are more likely to develop conditions like heart disease later in life. He adds the most important type of fitness is cardiovascular fitness, which is the ability to exercise vigorously for a long time. Ideally, children should engage in at least 60 minutes of daily activities that use the body's big muscles. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. Manny Pacquiao and Brandon Reyes say they are ready for their career-defining fight at the Venetian Hotel in Macau, Sunday, November 24th. Natasha Gutierrez reports.
A city of bright lights, Asia's Las Vegas. Boxing fans and media, and 2 hungry fighters desperate to win. This sets the stage for Clash in Cotai, one of the biggest boxing fights of the year. It's do or die for 8th Division World Champion Manny Pacquiao, or superstardom for 27-year-old Brandon Reyes. It'll come down to who's the better fighter. At the pre-fight conference Wednesday, both boxers promised fireworks. The young Mexican-American says his time has come.
And everybody that think I'm just a tuna fight, I'm nobody's tuna fight. I'm nobody's sparring partner. I'm nobody's punching bag. Because the last time I believe, a punching bag don't punch back. So Sunday, you guys are going to find out. A new star is on the rise.
Pacquiao knows Reyes wants a win as badly as he needs one.
Reyes is saying he's hungry to win this fight, and I'm hungry to win this fight because I've been losing twice for the past, last year.
Beyond his personal survival, he knows nothing will lift his countrymen's spirits more than a resounding Pac-Man victory.
Anyway, I'm doing my best to give a good fight and to win the fight, especially of what happened in my countrymen, what happened in the Philippines there. To all the people and families who are affected by the typhoon, this fight is for you.
On Thursday, both boxers go into the tail end of their training. Reyes' camp is calm and steady, with trainers and advisors discussing final strategies. Reyes' trainer Robert Garcia claims this is the end of Pacquiao's career.
The power is there, the speed is there, the reflex is there, which is more important. We're going to need to have very good reflex in the fight. I think everything's there now. We're right on time.
The day before, a scuffle broke out between the two camps over gym time. Rios and his team leave the gym well before their time runs out to avoid another run-in with Pacquiao's camp. Manny walks into the gym relaxed, despite the immense responsibility on his shoulders. His training is lighter and shorter. The team fine-tunes its game plan, a well-guarded strategy against a heavy puncher and a younger fighter. Roach is visibly happy.
Yeah, Manny's in the best shape of his life. I expect him to have the performance of his lifetime. I've never seen him look better.
It's just as well a loss for Pacquiao could mean retirement. Rios' camp says they have nothing to lose and everything to gain, that the pressure is all on Pacquiao. Analysts agree Pacquiao needs not just to win, but win convincingly to regain his status among the sport's elite. His fate will be determined in just 3 days. Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Macau.
Every story on Rappler has a mood meter which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that got the most clicks. In today's mood navigator, we have our top story. Court junks Napoles bail petition. It has 84% of people feeling happy, 10% amused. On Super Typhoon Haiyan and I Speak Peace, how do you say thank you in English, has 77% of readers feeling inspired, 19% happy. But you still see these 2 red circles here on the story in Tacloban. Haiyan crisis, no ground commander, and no one's calling the shots in one of the biggest humanitarian crises. It has 67% of people feeling angry, 17% annoyed. All contributing to the mood of the day. Today, most people are angry. That's Rappler's newscast for today, Thursday, November 21st, 2013. Visit Rappler.com and watch your newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Ai Makaraig, and as we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.